Yo, 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 Mango back with another podcast, and we have a co-host today,
Hey,
Gummy, and now we're going to introduce the man of the hour, Matt Medved. Listen,
what's up, guys? It's good to be here.
It's amazing to have you on here. Listen, I've been looking at what you've been doing in the Web3 space. Amazing. So everybody is Matt Medved. He's the co-founder, CEO of NFT NOW, which is amazing. Like that's crazy.
Yeah, it's wild to think that NFT NOW is now a thing.
Yeah, and I went to last time I was in New York. I went to NFT NOW. I went to your event.
Yeah, our NFT NOW Presents event on the rooftop, I think, of was it Spring Studios.
Yeah.
And State of Photo NFTs.
Yes. And I was like, before I was talking to Gummy, I was like, is this even worth going to? Because I went to so many NFT events in the last year, and when I hear panelists talk, it's not much value, and I'm not like getting any information that I'm like, is this like actually I'm gonna walk away with something that I'm gonna learn? And so when I went, I started talking to people. I met amazing people, and then I was listening to the panelists. You had someone from Gemini, and then 2 artists, correct? And I was listening to what they're saying, and I'm like, wait, hold on, I need to take notes. I need to record this. And I was like, wow, this is actually great. But let's start the podcast with what is happening right now. What happened last night is the merge.
Yeah, the merge. We have been waiting a long time for this in the Ethereum space. Essentially, to put it in the simplest terms, Ethereum used to be on a proof of work system similar to Bitcoin, which means essentially like miners would be kind of powering the network. The issue with proof of work is that it consumes a lot of energy. And for those who are conscious of Ethereum's environmental impact, proof of work really didn't seem very sustainable.
Yeah.
And so what's great is Ethereum has now successfully transferred.
After 3-10 promises of, oh, we're doing it in September. We're going to be doing it.
Got to get it right, though.
Months.
There's always time to do things right.
I can't believe it. Just like now it's like official.
It's official. So now Ethereum is on proof of stake, which means it uses 99% less energy and is a much more green and environmentally friendly blockchain, which is incredible.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
The cost.
Yeah, and the cost. And so a lot of people were not getting into Ethereum because of that, because of proof of work, correct? Because, the environment, it was destroying the environment, and a lot of people just didn't accept it.
And here's the thing, like I always want to put things into context because, I work in media, obviously NFT NOW is a media company, but I know how the mainstream media tends to like blow headlines out of proportion and the like, and there were a lot of like negative headlines about the environmental impact of NFTs and Ethereum that weren't really that accurate and didn't really put the right context, even back when it was proof of work. Like, just to give a good example, in terms of like terawatts per year, the company YouTube is like 244 terawatts per year, and the entire Ethereum blockchain prior to proof of stake was only 112. So the entire
I did not know that at all.
YouTube, just one big tech company was a bigger environmental impact than the entire Ethereum blockchain. But now the entire Ethereum blockchain is 0.01 terawatts. Wow. It has gone down that much. So even like I always would say, like, the critics of NFTs and Ethereum, like they're blowing it out of proportion. Obviously, we never want to have any unnecessary energy impact, right? Yeah. So I would never discount it as being a legitimate concern. However, the headlines made you sound like they're literally lighting forests on fire, and that's not the case.
Because I've never even heard of a YouTube. Like I never heard of like companies using like in a negative way, energy in a negative way.
Netflix is around 100 as well. So like Netflix was only slightly less than the Ethereum blockchain, but now the Ethereum blockchain is 0.01, which is incredible. So
do you think what is the open opportunities now towards this new change?
Well, I think there's a lot that goes into the merge and Ethereum 2.0. So there's still a lot of other things to come, like sharding and other things that are going to help actually reduce the cost of gas fees and the like. like. But this is a huge step, especially for mainstream adoption, because I come from the music industry. You know, prior to NFT Now, I was at Billboard. I founded Billboard Dance. I ran Spin Magazine, and I know so many artists who were really reluctant to get into NFTs because they were worried about the backlash from their fan base over the environmental concerns.
Yeah,
you know, whether it's justified or not, they didn't want that backlash, and I understand that.
I started in the influencer world, and when I started getting to NFTs and crypto, a lot of my friends, because I have a lot of friends that are from Hawaii, and Hawaii. The culture there is about taking care of the planet, and I was, you know, when I was discussing, hey, you should like learn about this, like this is crazy, and literally they're like, I'm not getting involved because it's hurting our planet, and I'm like, oh, what? And then I learned I had to do a lot of research on why it was hurting the planet, and why like this is not good. It's the proof of work is gonna be old. In 10 years, I think everything will not be proof of work. Like, it will be proof of stake.
Except for Bitcoin, because they can't change it.
Yeah, exactly. Bitcoin can't be changed. So yeah, this is amazing. Like, it opened us so many opportunities, and I think last night, because we had a little merch party last night.
As you should. This is a cause for celebration. You know, I'm excited about it.
This is revolutionary, and we were thinking that when it happened, that it was going to like maybe dip and then go up, but I don't think that's the case.
Yeah, the thing is like market dynamics, especially short term, it's always hard to say because people have been talking about the merge for a long time. It's like you wonder, was that price already baked in? You know, I always was telling people, I actually think, you know, I'm really excited about it, but I think for some people who are a little bit less deep in it, the merge might actually seem a little anticlimactic because it's not like all of a sudden gas fees went to zero overnight. It's not like the price shot up crazily. It's still something that, you know, it's an important shift, but you know, it's not like it happened out of nowhere. So I think like that's why you're seeing like not too much. I know it looked like it went up and then now it's like a little bit down, but like, I mean, to me, that's, you know, obviously never financial advice, but but cheap Ethereum that is also environmentally friendly is something I'm pretty bullish on. So
so moving forward, I did a lot of research on you on social media. You have almost 90,000 on Instagram. NFT Now has almost 150,000, and YouTube. You guys have your own podcast, over 70 episodes, a whole season, and you guys are taking a break now. Can you tell me, you know, why you guys are taking a break on the NFT podcast?
Yeah, it's a great question. So we launched the NFT Now podcast back in April 2021. And just to give you a little perspective too, we launched the NFT Now accounts in January 2021. And then, you know, it started to really pick up. We realized that this thing had legs, you know, especially after the Beeple sale things exploded. And we were like, all right, this is going to get like, we're going to really tackle this. And we all made the full, myself and my two co-founders, Alejandro and Sam, we made the full-time jump with NFT Now in June. So even while we were kind of like wrapping up our previous opportunities, we launched the podcast, hit the ground running in April. And we'd been going straight for, I think it was more than 75 episodes, which is, you know, a year and a half. We did not miss a week.
Yeah, that's really impressive. So I'm just curious on you. Now you have a big social media presence in Web3. And from my world, I have a presence in the social media, you know, in the world, TikTok and YouTube and stuff. So I'm curious on how you branded yourself and grew, you know, yourself and NFT Now.
Yeah, that's a great question. And by the way, I'm better on Twitter than I even am on Instagram.
Oh yeah, you have 156.
Twitter's like my
156.
Yeah.
Right, on Twitter.
But you know what's interesting is like, I actually like I used to be really focused on Instagram because I came from the music world. So in the music,
I saw you at Tomorrowland.
I played Tomorrowland. I also DJ and produce music. My time at Billboard, I founded Billboard Dance. So I ran all the dance electronic music at Billboard, knew all the artists and still know all the artists. And it was actually Blau, who you know, the DJ producer, who got me into NFTs. And so always been deep in the music world, and a lot of people knew me from that, like the music side. I also ran Spin, as I mentioned, and so it was like dance music and alternative music and all that. And you know, what's interesting is after I got into NFTs, after Blau got me, he pulled me like down the rabbit hole in like October 2020. And back then, it was really early, like there in certain ways, like everything was on Clubhouse, like we were all like everybody was talking NFTs on Clubhouse. and there just weren't that many trusted resources. And we were looking to, like, I was trying to learn as much as I could about NFTs. To give you also a little background, I first started dabbling in crypto back in 2013. Like, I bought my first Bitcoin in 2013.
Oh, wow.
But I was like, you know, I was a student. It's not like I had a lot of capital or anything. Like, I literally just bought like a couple and just like, and then like it crashed immediately after. I bought like the exact top.
Did you were like,
no, you know what? Honestly, like I was like, you know what? This was cool. Like, I believe in technology. I just held on to them. But I didn't like buy a ton more. Like I wish I had, you know, but then I honestly like, I'm not a finance guy at the end of the day. Yeah. So like, to me, it was just like, oh, this is cool, whatever. I've always been focused on music, art, and culture, you know? And so it was interesting during my time at Billboard, 2016 to 2018, that was when, you know, Ethereum rose and like it was the second bull market, and all of my friends who were DJs like Blau and RAC and the like, and Miha, they were trading crypto. And so I got back into trading crypto and all that. And we was really focused on how like music and how blockchain could like empower musicians. And like we were thinking a lot about royalties and the like, and did a bunch of like coverage of that for Billboard, you know, advised for Blau's like Music and Blockchain Festival, like spoke with RAC at South by. But we were just like a little bit early, right? We were kind of like trying to figure out how does this empower artists? And as it turns out, in my eyes, like NFTs were kind of that missing puzzle piece. Yeah. So when Blau takes me down the NFT rabbit hole in 2020, it all clicked for me. I was like, this is the technology I believed in for a very long time, finally disrupting the field I'm actually passionate about, music, art, and culture, in a way that can empower creators. And I've always been all about empowering creators.
So your purpose through this whole process it's not been about the money, it's not been about the fame, it's been about music and culture.
That's right, and empowerment, and that's a critical part. So the mission for NFT Now is to empower the creators of culture and to help bring NFTs from niche to mainstream. And that's also critical because there are a lot of people in this space who are just like content to like preach the choir and like they're, you know, the crypto native little enclave. That's cool. Like I'm friends with a lot of them, and you know, like that's fine. But we always wanted to convert the masses. Like we always wanted to bring new people in. And so for us, when we got into that space in 2020, into the NFT space, we realized there weren't very many credible resources. And so we kind of decided to solve a problem we were experiencing. And so with NFT Now, it was like, how do we create resources, onboarding, guides, you know, cover the news properly, be credible in a space that doesn't have that many credible actors, especially at that time. It was like such, you know, I mean, it's still Wild West.
Can you talk about what makes you credible in this space? Like I think it's very important for people to know what makes you credible in this space, because you know, a lot of people they may know information, they may know resources, connections, but like some people aren't respected. Some people they're like, when they talk about a certain person, they're like, oh no. So what makes a person credible in Web3?
Being transparent and acting out of a sense of greater good for the space rather than their own personal gain. And so like, for example, you will never see a paid placement on NFT Now that is not very obviously marked as such. Like it's always #partner, it's always in paid partnership with, and we only partner, for example, with very credible brands. So like the first time during the bull run, like all these projects tried to come at us, throwing money at us, honestly, like trying to throw money at us to be like, support us. But if we couldn't vet them and we didn't feel they were legitimate, we largely said no to almost all of them. We left a lot of money on the table. But
can you name some brands that you worked with?
I can name ones we worked with. Yes. Yeah. So I can't name the ones we denied. No. I actually can't remember most of them because they just weren't that memorable. That's the thing. They were just you know, like these like, you know, bullshit like cookie cutter PFPs, and like that's not what we're about. And so the first time we said yes was Coinbase and United Masters. Like that's the level. That's the level we're going for with NFT Now. Right. Okay. And even still, we marked it as like presented by, partner, everything. And also it was actually a really dope piece because it was basically a list of the top music NFT moments of the year. And you know, our editorial team chose the moments. Like, you know, they had full independence of it. It was just like they were presented by it, you know? And so it was actually a piece of content we would have wanted to create anyway, which was really cool. And it created a lot of value for us and our readers and for the partners involved. But the issue is there are a lot of people in this space who take payments and then act like they're just organically supporting something without showing, without being transparent about it.
That's a big downfall in this industry, especially in the social media world. I know a ton of people that have just hey, I'm gonna promote this NFT project, I'm gonna promote this crypto coin, and I'm gonna get a bag off of it, and then they don't even know what they're promoting. They're just seeing the money. Hey, here's $20,000, here's 15, whatever it is, and they just promote it, and that's it. They don't know anything about the project, where it's going, the utility, what impact. They just care about the money, and they don't really care. But on the back end, their fans are looking at them and being like, oh, what is this? I'm curious. Oh my God, my favorite person is saying something about this. Like, you have someone like Chris Brown that came out with NFT collection and it's only sold 7%, and now he's not really credible, quote unquote, in the industry in Web3 because it wasn't authentic, it wasn't real, it was more of a money grab, and that's
I'm pretty sure a lot of DJs are like, who's Chris Brown?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and I think like it also like your intentions really play a big role in it. Like I always tell people, I'm like number one rule is like you got to come to this space with the intent of creating value. Yeah, and then you can share in that value, of course, when you create it for others. But that you cannot come into the space with the aim of extracting value. Like people who are here to just like take value and then dip. Like you might fool people once, but this space has a very long memory. And
it's very small. It's very small. Everybody knows everybody. So
that's right.
And culturally, it's different. And you can't. Web 2 and Web 3, like the value of what they.
And you can't rebuild your credibility after that. Like that's the thing too. Is like, you know, when all these projects were kind of like they're throwing money like to trying to get promotion. It was like, you know what? Our credibility is worth so much more than that. Like, you don't want to sell yourself short. And I was like, we're also a mission-driven organization. Like, we're all about bringing new people into the space, making sure that they don't get scammed, that like they know about wallet security, that like they like go to the right marketplaces, that they know why they're getting into the space, that they like create the right way and stuff. So like it's just like totally against our ethos to support anything that doesn't have like that's not acting in good faith and doesn't have the space's like best interests at heart,
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like there's a lot of people that are curious to get into Web3. Yeah. And you specifically, know a lot of knowledge on NFTs. Like that's your niche, right? Is acknowledging people on NFTs.
But there's so much like, but one thing I'll say is I would never call myself an NFT expert because I don't think there are like any NFT experts. Maybe like and the ones that there are who have been in the space for so long, they would never even call themselves that. Because it's just such an ocean. You know what I mean? We've just scratched the surface of the technology's potential. But I am definitely obsessed with NFTs, and I live, breathe it, and sleep.
So I got into crypto first because I've been in Web3 for maybe a year and a half, but I got into crypto first. I started learning, and then I got into NFTs, and I got more obsessed with NFTs because of the technology behind it. And so, is that your reason on the technology?
The technology and its potential to empower creators. That's the biggest thing for me. Is like when it clicked for me that like now, for example, a digital artist can build a collector base and be sold, at like the highest level of the art world. The fact that they can now make a living off their own creative vision instead of client work, being paid like pennies on the dollar. The fact that photographers are now going from like a services industry to a goods industry where they can also build collectors, like things like that. Where like the music industry, this has such a tremendous power to empower musicians who have for a long time been totally screwed by the major labels and the streaming services, right? Yeah. And so like that's what really excites me. So that is all via the technology. It is the technology that excites me, but its power to actually empower creators is like that's what gets me up in the morning,
Yeah, and how do you think that this is going to impact the world in 5 years? Where do you think that all of this technology is going? Because right now it's moving really fast. A month in Web3 is like 3 years in the real world.
Dog years.
Yeah, it's
totally
like dog years because I keep like hearing new things left and right about Web3, and I'm like, wait, what is this? What is this? What is this? I like literally went down a whole rabbit hole about AI the other day, and like how I my last podcast I was interviewing Gambit, which was he created the NFT chains, and he wants to implement AI with his chains, and when Google AR with his chains, and when you put the Google glasses on, when Google comes out with their AR glasses, you're going to be able to see things flying around the chains in AR. And I was like, whoa, that's insane. And when I first heard about AR. I was at a Solana conference in LA, and it had this after party at this club, and I went in the back, and there was this guy that had these glasses, and I was like, what are these? This is VR? And they're like, oh no, you got to try these on. They're AR. And I'm like, hey, what is that? And
You're like, whoa.
I'm like, whoa. I put them on, and you know that Angry Pigs game?
Yeah.
Angry Birds or something? So like, he had a table in front of me, and I put the glasses on. The pigs had like blocks, and the pigs were standing on the blocks, and I could shoot the pigs. And when I shot, the blocks went all over the floor. And I was like, wait, what the hell am I looking at?
Yeah, technology in this world is not just NFTs. It's not just PFPs. I mean, Matt, I'm sure you've seen so many different projects. What's out there more that's not just PFPs?
Well, one thing I want to say is like, I'm going to answer the 5 years thing first, and then I'm going to get there. So one thing I want to make really clear is like, all of us, we're all part of the last generations to grow up without digital ownership from day one. Like, every generation to come is going to grow up owning things digitally and owning things physically, and they're not going to have the same hangups that like our generations do. Like they're not going to be like, oh, like do I right click save it? Like should I hang it on? How can I hang it on my wall? They're going to grow up owning things digitally, owning them physically. They're going to appreciate them for their own unique strengths and appeals. We're already seeing this, dude, with Gen Z anyway. You know, like Roblox and Fortnite and like all that. Like y'all get it better than like than you know, like the older generations. And it's like the thing is like. So like a lot of this like back and forth, it's just like, it's so silly to me in a certain way, because I'm just like, it's so clear where this is going. And, you know, I think that the future of 5 years, I think is going to look like a place where everyone owns things digitally, they own things physically. It's not going to be a like, you know, I mean, well, 5 years, it's hard to say. Like you said, 5 years is like,
5 years is like
5 years is a long time, but also like, I also think that like metaverse and like is still a ways away, you know what I mean? Yeah. But I do think like the future that we're all building towards is one in which like digital and physical like live like in creative harmony. Essentially, they coexist in creative harmony. And like, you know, what I think is exciting about that is that like so many people are going to have like their digital identities, their physical identities, the worlds and the communities that they belong to there. And it's gonna be really interesting how these things all kind of work together. Now, I also want to say that I think that we will have reached more mainstream adoption once we are talking less about the tech and more about the actual like what does this do for your average person? You know what I mean? Like it's sort of like we've said before, like NFTs still need like their like iPod moment. Like the iPod moment was when like Steve Jobs was like 100 songs in your pocket. And everybody can wrap their head around that. Like, you know, like whether you call them an MP3 or whatever you call them, like 100 songs in your pocket, we could never have that before. You know what I mean? And all of a sudden, like that was so exciting. I remember when I got my first iPod, I was like, holy shit.
Yeah, I remember that too. I was like, wait, whoa.
Damn, I didn't know if you were old enough for that.
No, kidding. I remember when my mom got the first BlackBerry, and I was like, wait, what is that? That's crazy. That's cool. Like there's buttons on the phone, and you could like look at it, and then the flip phone, and then the Razor, and then
totally
iPod.
And again, it's like that's when it like that was that breakthrough moment. NFTs haven't had that yet, and that's okay because it's still really early. And then tying into what you were saying, you were talking about like the use cases for NFTs, right? You know, it's unfortunate that for a lot of people they think like NFTs are just Bored Apes, you know. But I understand why. I understand what that is, because it's a very new technology that's reaching a lot of people for the first time. That was the most popular one, you know, from a mainstream audience perspective with all the celebrities. And people, you know, make snap judgments, and media covers things the way that media tends to cover things. And part of that's due to the broken media business model, which is something we're trying to fix with NFT Now. But you know, we'll get into that. But you know, but what's interesting is, you know, digital art and digital collectibles. Those are two use cases that have driven a lot of market volume and also mainstream attention, but there's still just only two use cases of many, many more for this technology. It's like been really cool to see the emergence of photography NFTs. Music NFTs are still nascent, but they're starting to like really build a lot of momentum, I think. Platforms like Royal and Sound XYZ. I think that TV film is going to be disrupted as well. Honestly, I believe that NFTs are going to fundamentally redefine how creators and their communities create and share value together together across every discipline. And so like comedy is going to get disrupted. Dance, like choreographed dance, you know, it's going to be disrupted. Something that's really close to my heart, because I come from a creative writing background, is literary NFTs, like poetry. There are some amazing poets on the blockchain. It's still very early, but the idea of like creating collectability around poetry in the same way that like digital art can be collected is a game changer. There's some amazing poets like Sasha Stiles, Anna Maria Caballeros, who are like really pushing that forward. And then like even beyond that, like some more mundane use cases, you know, just like government documents and like the deed to your house or to your car. And of course, gaming.
Yeah,
massive. Gaming yes. is, I believe, gaming is going to drive the next NFT bull run.
Of course.
Yeah.
And so you know, all this knowledge that you're saying right now about NFTs, about 95% of the world doesn't even know what you're even talking about. It's a foreign language, and that's the gap right now is the knowledge, the education, and someone like yourself and your team and what you're doing, you're educating the world about Web3 and the technology. And so let's talk about the onboarding process. Like how are you going to create a bridge to gap that lack of knowledge besides, you know, NFT Now? Like what could you do in the future? What other things could you do to make people feel like, oh, okay, I'm comfortable with getting in this space?
It's a great question. So, you know, what we think about this, like, as I mentioned, I got into crypto in 2013. So I went through the crypto learning curve then, back when there were like no guardrails. Like it was literally the Wild West. Like you couldn't even trust any of the platforms you were on. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like that was wild. And I still had to go through the NFT learning curve in 2020. And that wasn't insignificant either. I still had to learn a lot. And the issue is so many people are going through both at once. And it's really daunting. Mm-hmm. And we are still very early in that the user experience, the UX, is not very good. No. It is not easy right now to get from interest to onboard. Yep. And I saw this myself with a lot of my friends, because, you know, a lot of my friends thought, you know, kind of thought I was crazy, you know, going like just hard pivot into NFTs. But then as the water started rising, they started seeing more, like they started to get interested. I was always encouraging my friends to get into it, because I was like, this is going to change the world.
Were they kind of off about it?
No, not even off. It was just the issue. They were interested, but then like the issue was like, okay, so like there's a drop that I want to do. And I'm like, okay, do you have Ethereum yet? They're like, no. And I was like, okay, so they had to set up a Coinbase or a Gemini. And then it was like 2 weeks for their thing to clear. And then like the drop was already over. And then they're like, wait, I have to set up a MetaMask too. And then I have to transfer that ETH to MetaMask. And it's just like all of this friction. Yeah. All this friction. And again, like remember that like we live in like an attention economy. And so like there's a million things competing for your attention at once. And when something's like difficult like this and it's new and it's like hard to understand, you usually kind of push it to the side sometimes. And so a lot of my friends, while they were interested, it took them a long time to finally get on board. Yeah. And then once they got on board, they thrived and they loved it. Yeah. And they were like, holy, you know, like they were like, wow. But so many people get lost along the way.
Yeah. When I got first into transitioning into NFTs, I was like, I don't know. It took me about 7 months to even spend any money on NFTs. I knew about.
That's good. That's good, actually. It's good to take time.
Yeah, it's good. But like, I was so hesitant on like, should I buy this? Like, I didn't see the value in NFTs. I was like, why should I spend a couple $1,000s on a picture? And I didn't realize like, what it does, like the technology behind it and everything.
Utility, things like that. The community side.
Exactly. Yeah. And so I was just like, why would I do that? Like I could just go buy a $1,000 art piece and put it in my house. Like why do I need like what? It just didn't make sense. It did not click, and it took me about 7 months to realize. Oh, okay. It just clicked because of the education part. You know, you said there's a lot of friction on the process of learning all of this, and so when I was like, wait, I had to do like 10 steps to transfer. Even in crypto, I had like to transfer from one network to another, like go to KuCoin, like do all this like 10 steps.
KuCoin, boy, you got deep.
I'm like, what is going on? Like I was like, should I do this or not? And the security is like the Wild West. It's still the Wild. It's totally. It's still the Wild. Like you can't get on a phone call and be like, yo, I just lost. Like if you send Ethereum to be at 20, $20,000, it's gone.
Yeah, there's that. I always say decentralization is a double-edged sword. There is no customer support hotline for the Ethereum blockchain.
Yeah,
you know,
it's scary.
Yeah, and it is, and the issue is that you have a lot of new people entering the space and very sophisticated scammers, scammers out there, and you know, like I've seen, and all it takes is one time for you to be a little off your game, you're a little tired, maybe you've been drinking, like, you know, you're just not like you're full out, and they strike, and that's all it takes to be wrong once. You just let your guard down once. Yep. And so, and that sucks. That sucks. Yep. Because
I have a couple friends that they've lost Bored Apes, they've lost a ton of NFTs just by clicking on a link.
Yeah, and the thing is that's why with NFT Now, like wallet security and like onboarding guides, like those were some of the first pieces of content we put out.
Can you do a brief summary of, you know, wallet security? Like, you know, what is wallet security?
Yeah. So for example, we like very much encourage you, like if you have a wallet like a MetaMask is kind of like, you know, one of the most common software wallets that you use to navigate the NFT and like crypto ecosystem, right? Lives in a browser on Google Chrome or whatever your browser is. But you know, if you just start up a MetaMask, that's what we call a hot wallet, in the sense that it doesn't have like a hardware wallet attached to it. And a hardware wallet is actually the safest way to store your crypto, your NFTs, your valuables. Ledger, Trezor are like the two leading brands there. And so what they essentially do is they essentially keep your private keys, which is essentially like the most important thing. In like, whoever has your private keys can access whatever's in there. Yep. So like they keep your private keys offline, and essentially it's like in cold storage, you know. Yep. And so you actually need this physical, you know, this physical device that you plug in through a USB, and you need that to approve any transactions. And look, like that can sometimes be a little unwieldy, especially at times when you're like, there's a hot mint or something's happening fast and like you need to act, or like you're on the go. And so that's why a lot of people don't always use them for everything. But I highly recommend, like, if you are really collecting in the space and you have an NFT or crypto portfolio that is worth a significant amount, whatever that is to you, please invest in a hardware wallet. You can actually have two wallets. Like I have what I always say is like the way I think about it personally, and this is just the way I like to do it. I have my like Vault wallet, my like hardware wallet. That's where I keep my most valuable NFTs. You know, that's where the Bored Ape is. That's where the CryptoPunk is. You know, like, and I very rarely use that. I transfer things in when I'm like, this is a long-term hold. And if I ever decide that I want to sell something there, I transfer it out to another wallet before. I don't really use that wallet to interact with things. I would never mint something from that wallet. I would highly recommend going to nftnow.com. We have incredible resources there on wallet security, on best practices, on red flags too, to identify like scammers, scams, and projects that might be rugs. You know, for those who don't know the term, like a rug is a project that promises a lot of things. Promises a lot of things and then pulls the rug, and it was just a cash grab, and they didn't plan on doing anything. And so like we want to empower all of these like new people in the space with the tools they need to succeed and survive in the space. Like it's important, because like one thing I saw in my time in crypto back in like 2016, 2018, you know, there were the ICOs. The ICOs were these like big booms, like, you know, like these big, you know, people were raising tons of money on the ICOs, and some of them turned into great companies. A lot of them went to zero. And a lot of good people who were interested in this space got burned on the ICOs and were like fuck crypto, I'm out, you know, which sucks, because they're really good people who wanted to contribute to this ecosystem, and they got totally turned off, you know. And so what I was really worried about, and I'm still worried about, was that happening in the NFT space. And I think to some degree we saw a bit of that, like especially during the bull run, like all those cookie cutter projects, those hype projects with Twitter bots pumping them up on like giveaways, like, and people would buy in at like high levels, and then it would go down. That's
when I got into crypto and NFTs is on the bull run, and I,
January was a crazy month.
So I was experiencing like when you just talked about FOMO and FOMO marketing, like these people were literally pumping the crap out of these NFT projects, and I felt like I saw Justin Bieber post his NFT collection, and then I wanted to buy an NFT. I was like, whoa, so many people are buying this, like it's gonna be valuable. And then I didn't know anything about utility. I didn't know anything about like looking at NFTs, what what I need to search for and everything. I just was like, okay, it's Justin Bieber. He's a celebrity. And if I buy this, like, it could become valuable, whatever. And so literally maybe it was like 3 months later, it didn't go anywhere. And I'm like, oh, thank God I didn't buy it. But there was, I bought my first NFT I ever bought was an Alien Friend.
Yeah.
That was my first ever NFT. I thought it looked cool. I thought it was dope. And so I just like, it's all about like putting yourself in the shoes to learn, you know, like you can't just look at something and then not step in the door to actually go and be hands-on. So, you know, I was like, okay, let me just buy my, you know, first NFT, see what it does, and let's see where it goes. And so, like, you know, they would have like Alien Friend if you're a holder, like they'll have events and stuff, like you could go into these events. I was like, whoa, this is so cool. Because, you know, in the influencer world, like it's not like that. It's like holding, like to me, holding like this picture, you could have access to this, and that. And I was like, that doesn't, like, it didn't click in my head. And because in the influencer world, like, you just go to things. Like, you get invited, here you go. Like, there's no, like, ownership to something to go to anything. So the whole FOMO marketing strategy was really bad because it caught me, like, a lot. Like, I lost a lot of money because I was like, oh, let me invest in this coin. Everyone's talking about it. And no one, you know, there's a lot of people on Twitter, Instagram talking about it. And I got fucked. But it's you know, you live and learn, and that's what it's about, especially in this place, in this space. So, you know, what I'm focused on now is just educating myself more, learning, because that's all you can do. Because education, I feel like in Web3 is your security. Because
100%.
There's a lot of people that are trying to get the people that are new in the space.
They see them as easy targets. Exactly. Because they're not a, you know what I mean? Like, they don't have their guard up in the same way.
Yep.
You know, and it's funny because, like, I remember, like, those early days of Bitcoin, like, we had, like, this almost, like, healthy paranoia. Like, you literally didn't trust anything. Didn't trust, like, the platforms that you used. Would never trust a link that a stranger sent you on Discord or anything like that. And the thing is, and the other thing that bears mentioning too is now with NFTs, one of the great things about NFTs is that it's bringing culture and crypto together. Yep. In a way that wasn't possible before, like the art world, the music world, all these, you know, so you're getting all these new people in the space, but also people who don't have that grounding in crypto, who don't have those kind of like best practices, like already kind of like instilled in them. So you have a lot of people who are maybe a little more trusting and a little more like they don't have their guard up in the same way. And that's why we've seen, I mean, even some of the biggest artists have gotten hacked, you know what I mean? Yes. And it's like, it can happen really to anyone. And so that's what I always say is, like, just by like doing certain best practices of just like hardware wallet, never connect or sign a transaction from a website that you haven't double, triple checked is the correct one. Yes. Never trust a link from somebody on Discord or another platform, Instagram. And even if it looks like they might be your friend, like, don't trust it unless you've double, triple checked it, because they're very sophisticated scammers out there. And, you know, just like, you have to be vigilant. And I think you know, it will get better as we get better UI and UX. I mean, even recently, MetaMask rolled out a very important update where at least when you're signing a transaction, it says like, give whatever permission to access and then the collection that it is. Because sometimes what people were doing was like, they were saying like, hey, like, you know, connect to the site to animate your Bored Ape or something like that. And then they thought that's what they were signing. And then what they were actually signing was giving access to this site to their board. Like, and if they saw it spelled out like that, they'd be like, wait a minute, I don't know if I should be doing that. But because it wasn't obvious, a lot of people fell for it. So that's already, it's a step in the right direction. It's not enough, but it will, I think, save some people.
Why do you think there is a gap between the masses and, you know, the rest of Web3 world?
Well, you know, what's interesting is, like, I mean, even at like the peak of you know, the kind of the bull run and everything, like, it was still an incredibly tiny like market penetration, if you think about it. Like, it was never more than 2 million active traders on like OpenSea. 2 million people, like, that's tiny. That's tiny.
Yeah. There's
that
8 billion people in the world.
Yeah, like, I mean, you know, we're in New York City right now. Like, you know, 2 million is a drop in the bucket, right? And so, like, you think about it, it's like, and that was at its peak. So, like, it's still an incredibly tiny like market penetration for NFTs. And so it's still very small. So a lot of people, while this was that first like cycle where NFTs reached a level of mainstream awareness, we still have a long way to go. And so like one thing I always tell people is like, you know, zoom out. Like when
100%.
when I bought Bitcoin in 2013, I thought I was late. Because back in the day, that chart still looked similar. It was like, oh, I could have gotten it here, and like it's all the way up here. And like now, when you zoom out, that whole cycle in 2013 is a tiny blip in the rear view. And I think when we look at like NFT sales volume at the large, like it's going to be the same for this past one. Like it's only like I've seen this movie before. I know how this ends. You know, it's like. But what's interesting is it really there are going to be. That doesn't mean every project is going to go on that trajectory, right? Like a lot of people like to say, I know Gary Vee has said like 99% of NFT projects are going to zero. He's probably about right. It's around there. Like it's because there are just so many NFT projects out there. And what
do you think of Gary Vee? What's your thoughts on Gary Vee?
I like Gary.
I've been because Gary Vee is a huge person that I was like very curious. I went to VCon. Yeah. I own V Friends, and I was like. You know, I don't know. I just was like trusted Gary Vee for some reason, and because he's from the social media world, and he went into this. He's been in for a very long time, but publicly he hasn't been in for a long time. Creating like VCon, like doing this, like making it public, like masses. And so, what is your thoughts on like everything he's doing?
Sure. Well, in the interest of transparency. I will tell you, Gary Vee did invest in NFT NOW, so I'll tell you that.
Wow!
So we're all about transparency. But I really like Gary. I think Gary has done a lot to educate his fan base about NFTs and to help bring them into the ecosystem. It's really interesting because even just anecdotally, running the NFT NOW socials and stuff, I often ask, it's who introduced you to NFTs? Like how did you get into NFTs? And tag the first person who brought you in. And so many people I see just consistently say Gary's the one who got me in. I followed him and he helped me understand how to set up a MetaMask, Ethereum around the VFriends thing. I think Gary's also a guy who one thing I really like too is he understands that with great reach comes great responsibility. And he often says, he's look, please. And I would tell everyone the same thing, do not invest more than you can afford to lose into volatile assets like NFTs, like crypto, like any of that. That's one of the reasons why I've been in this space as long as I have is because I had always dabbled in crypto. I never put some crazy amount in. I never FOMO'd in at the top or whatever. I've always just been very reasonable about how much I'll put in and making sure that it's a balanced portfolio. And I always tell people it's with NFTs and crypto, you went through the learning curve too. You're always going to have some L's. You're always going to take some L's. If you didn't take any L's, you're lying. You know what I mean? But
that goes for any industry, anything you do in life.
Of course.
You're always going to fall on your face, and it's up to you to get back up and want to continue to learn and continue to go, because that's how you progress. That's how you educate yourself. And if you really want that goal that you have, then get up and go for it.
Exactly. And so what I just tell people, I'm look, live to fight another day, and one of these days will be yours.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And to wrap this up, what are you most excited about? Are there any projects that you recently heard about that's coming up?
So I am very excited about everything we have in the works for
Big
NFT
news.
NOW. Yeah, we've got a little bit of alpha. We have NFT membership pass coming soon. So if you're listening to this and you're not in the NFT NOW Discord yet, I would recommend potentially getting in there.
Please go.
And then we're also doing some really big events at Art Basel. Last year we did the Gateway in partnership with Christie's. We took over 23,000 square foot like a whole floor of a bank building and turned it into an immersive audiovisual gallery. All the top artists, Blau, Zach Bia performed. It was dope. And we're doing it even bigger this year. So those are
wow. I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to that. I will be there.
You gotta come. It's gonna be bigger. It's gonna be better. And and I'm just really excited to continue building the team. We have an amazing team at NFT NOW. We're around 20 full time now, I think, and still growing. And they do incredible work every day. So I'm really proud to be a part of it.
And to wrap this up, I'm gonna ask you one last question. So, personally, what is your purpose in life?
Honestly, I really do think that it is to empower creators. Even at my time prior to Web3 and NFTs, when I founded Billboard Dance, I used that to uplift artistry. I would always tell people, I'm not a reporter, I'm a curator. I'm looking for the next big thing. And was early to artists like Kygo, like Chainsmokers, Black Coffee, Alice in Wonderland, Marshmello, et cetera, like gave them that early platform to succeed. Did the same thing when I ran Spin. And now with NFTs, I think you can even move the needle for people and artists even more. And so I want NFT Now to be that. And so NFT Now is a manifestation of that like personal drive for me as well.
Yeah. Okay, so Gummy, I've never asked you before, what is your purpose?
My purpose is I really believe that you have opportunity to change your future. Like this is the first time in history where it doesn't matter like what your background is, where you come from, who your parents are. You could really just change your like future and your future generations by educating yourself and learning about the technology. You can build anything you want. It's a blank canvas.
Amazing, amazing. Well, we're going to wrap this up now. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me. And I'm excited that you're getting into Web3 and continue to spread the good word.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. Well, it's been Mango, and I'm out.
Gummy out.
Peace. Medved out.